So you guys know how much I love the 1911. But now do I like the 2011 better? Let's find out today. The capacity leaves something to be desired. Welcome back to Sawtooth Tactical. 1911, 2011. Which one is king? Which one is my favorite handgun? If you're subscribed to Sawtooth Tactical, you know how much I've professed my love for the 1911. It's always been my favorite pistol. But my most recent gun purchase is this, the Springfield Prodigy DS 1911. It's basically a 2011 style gun. Is this my new favorite? Has it replaced the 1911 as my favorite handgun? Subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical and let's talk about it. So you just saw 9 rounds with the 1911. That's a full magazine. 2011 is a 20 round magazine. Rounds sure is nice. As I said in the intro, the 1911 has for a very long time been my favorite handgun. I've owned a few of them. Right now, what I own is this. This is the Springfield Ronin. It is a 9mm government size 5-inch barrel 1911 with a 9 or a 10 round capacity. But I also recently got this. This is the Springfield Prodigy 4 1/4 inch, so commander style. This has a 17 or a 20 round capacity, also 9mm, but also has the ability to mount an optic and a light. This is a 1911 at heart, but there's obviously some major changes going on here. So let's get to it. 1911 sure is beautiful though. This gun just looks classic. But to get 20 rounds of capacity, you need 2 magazines, and it needs to be chambered in 9mm. It sure does shoot good. My favorite handgun style was designed over 100 years ago. 1911 literally stands for the year in which it was put into service. Invented, designed by John Moses Browning, maybe the most influential firearm designer of all time. This gun is just a masterpiece. It really is. It's a work of art. The Browning tilting barrel design, the way that the barrel locks up, the ergonomics of it, it has that perfect grip angle, the single action straight to the rear trigger just makes for an incredibly accurate and easy to shoot firearm, and it just looks good. I mean, you take a modern pistol from, these days, polymer striker fired gun, and you put it up next to this, it's really obvious which one looks better. I think the 1911 wins hands down every time. But it has one major drawback, at least in my opinion, and that is capacity. While the 1911 may have those classic looks, the 2011, with the 20 round capacity, you also get an optic and the ability to mount a light, and that's a huge deal. Capacity being the major drawback. In a 45 ACP 1911, you get 7 or 8 rounds. In one like this, 9mm, you get 9 or 10 rounds because they're single stack magazines. So what happened? Something else was born, the 2011. Now, 2011 is a term coined by the brand Staccato. So this is technically a double stack 1911, but it is designed in the 2011 style, meaning that instead of just a steel slide frame barrel, you have steel slide frame barrel polymer grip module. And so it is a modular design. It also has all the modern features, starting with a capacity of 17 or 20 rounds. You can even get 26 round magazines for it. Besides that, you can mount a red dot optic. It has a light rail. All the things that modern pistols have that the 1911 generally doesn't. Despite only having a 10+1 capacity compared to 20+1, no ability to mount a red dot or a light. There's just something about the 1911 that I absolutely love. Part of it just has to do with the pure shootability of it. Part of it just looks good. And it runs good. I have always loved the way the 1911 shoots. To me, it has been the most accurate pistol for me to shoot. And I'm talking about mechanical accuracy, but as well as practical accuracy. I can shoot a 1911 better than most other pistols. And it has to do with a few things. Barrel to slide lockup, but mainly the single action trigger is just better than any other trigger design that's out there still 100 years later. And so it makes this pistol very shootable. Combine that with a very natural grip angle, and you've just got a recipe for being able to shoot fast and accurate. Now combine all of that with a 1911 chambered 9mm, then you've got a heavy steel, fairly large gun shooting 9mm instead of 45 ACP, which naturally you're going to get much less recoil, making it a very flat shooting gun. And that is a really, it's just a joy to shoot a 9mm 1911. Well, 9mm 1911 double stack with all the modern features. It's going to be really hard for me to be honest with myself and say that the 1911 wins in this matchup, because this is technically a 1911. It's the same thing, but it has a lot of benefits that the original 1911 just doesn't give you. Now, while this thing may have the looks, and I think it does, this is a very beautiful gun. This thing looks pretty dang good too. It's definitely a lot more modern, a lot more tactical looking. I love this Springfield Prodigy. And while I know that some people have had reliability issues with them, I have not. 400 rounds, I had one stovepipe with some cheap 147 grain. Other than that, I've been running 115, 124 grain. I ran a bunch more hollow points through it today. No issues whatsoever. I can mount a light on it so that I can use it at night and positively identify targets if I need to. I've got a hollow sun red dot so I can be threat focused, target focused. I don't have to line up a front and a rear sight and a target and figure out 3 different planes with my eyes. Although if I did, it definitely has my favorite kind of sights with the fiber optic front and the serrated blacked out rear. And you can definitely co-witness those through your optic if you ever do have any kind of a failure, because let's face it, even with modern optic technology and these hollow suns, I've never had an issue with them. They are still electronic instruments, and anything electronic could technically possibly fail. And so you do want to have a good set of backup iron sights just in case. But this has all that. I mean, for anyone that really loves the 1911, you better try a 2011 because it's going to change your life. For someone who's always loved 1911s, you really can't beat the double stack 2011 Springfield Prodigy. Man, that thing shoots good. So if you've followed the channel, you know that I truly appreciate and value John Moses Browning's original 1911 design. I do think that with modern upgrades, it's an even better gun, especially when chambered in 9mm. And that's not to put the 45 ACP guys down. I've had 2 in 45 ACP, and I loved those very much as well. But for anyone who loves the 1911, who understands the way it works and that you have to deal with the 2 manual safeties, you have the grip safety and you have your thumb safety, single action, hammer fired, really just very shootable pistol. If you understand that manual of arms and you shoot well with it, you owe it to yourself to get a 2011 style pistol. This really is the evolution of the 9mm 1911, or just the 1911 in general. This shoots better than any of my other handguns. As much as I've always loved this M&P, I've always loved this 1911. This is definitely my new go-to. This Springfield Prodigy has changed the way I look at handguns, and I can now only imagine what it would be like to own a really high-end 2011. And someday I will. Because if you guys have been following along the channel, every time I've had some kind of dream gun, I have eventually been able to get it. This is my first 2011, and now I understand why they're so expensive. Now, I was able to set this one up for around $2,000, light and optic and everything, and it shoots great. But for a couple thousand more, I'm sure you get what you pay for. Those of you who own 2011s, Staccatos, Nighthawks, Infinities, Atlases, let me know down in the comments. Tell me how those guns shoot. I'm sure they shoot incredibly well. For those of you that own Springfield Prodigies, tell me what your experience with them has been, because mine has been all positive. And for those of you who are 1911 shooters, tell me what you love about the 1911, because I'm sure I will agree. I absolutely love them. If you haven't gotten into 1911s, 2011s, you really are missing out, let me tell you. So anyway, please like, share this video, subscribe to Sawtooth Tactical, and from Sawtooth Tactical, stay strapped or get clapped.